welcome to PodQuest episode 12. We've got a special episode today because we've replaced Paul with a superior guest. This is Jordan. He's pretty prominent in our local fighting game community. So we're going to talk to him about that and a few other things after we introduce Player One over here.
Yeah, Player One Dustin, as usual.
Yeah, I am Kelsey Polnick. And what have you been playing this week?
You are
Dustin?
Player Two.
Player Two.
And
Jordan Bird.
Jordan Bird, Player
Three.
3. Yay. All right. Yeah, so Jordan's first time here on the show, so we usually talk about what we've been playing throughout our week and stuff. I guess I'll start the stuff off. For anybody following the podcast, you'll know that I've been trying to get through Persona 5 for the last little while here. I took a little bit of a break and decided to go back and continue Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. So I was trying to...
You're so close to the end.
Yeah.
Why are you taking breaks now? You get the climax.
Well, no, I can't... If I play something too much, I burn myself out. So I gotta go back and forth a little bit. So, but I wanted to, in Breath of the Wild, I wanted to go and finish off the Champions Ballad DLC.
Get that motorbike.
Yeah. So I finished that off. I got the motorbike. I only have to now, for me to feel like I finished Zelda, I just have to finish the last part of the Master Sword DLC, and then I have to go find, I think it's only like 25 more shrines, and then I'm done.
Nice. You're not doing 900 Koroks.
Oh god, no. No, I'm not going for that lucky golden poo. I'm not going for it. It's just
smart.
It's not worth it. So, otherwise this week had the release of Monster Hunter World and Dragon Ball FighterZ. So I picked those up yesterday and played a little bit of them last night. So Monster Hunter is really cool. So it's a nice open world, but it's...
I had a lot of fun with that beta.
And even once you get into like the actual game, like when you can start creating stuff and everything, it's pretty cool. I just have to figure out how to get the connecting to online functionality working. So, but otherwise that's what I've been playing this week.
I was talking to Jordan on the way here about Dragon Ball FighterZ. I think we're both in the same boat where we want to try it out. Just need some funds to get that going.
Yeah, man, I'd like to play it because like I like Exorcist games. I like any fighting game really. I'll pick it up and I'll play it, but I just haven't had the time, like haven't had the money really just to pick up the game. But there's good reason why I haven't picked it up. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I have to say though, with Dragon Ball FighterZ, I'm not good at fighting games, but Dragon Ball FighterZ will make me want to come back to fighting games.
Oh yeah, it's like
so it's
super,
got a lot.
It's super beginner friendly too.
Yeah, it's got a lot of easy controls. It's just a matter of getting it down pat. I'm not good at guarding, and I'm still trying to get used to when to time off a super move. So, but I'm getting better at it. So I guess playing the beta helped out.
Usually does. Extra time.
All right, Mr. Kelsey, what have you been watching this week?
I've been playing games finally.
Yes!
Just TV, yeah.
Finally back.
I played a lot of ActRaiser 2 this week, which is a game from my childhood that I owned, and I don't think I ever beat a single level in it, which is a little embarrassing because you can go across the world map and there's multiple levels that could be the first, and I don't think I beat any of them as a kid. So right now I've got a password that takes me to the final, I think it's the final stage. I've never gotten this far before. But I've completed everything on the initial map, and then it opened up a new place right in the middle of the map, which I'm assuming is the final level. So hopefully I'll have that one beat, which it's been on my bucket list for like 25, 30 years now. I've never been able to make much progress in it, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I played Portal for the first time ever this week.
What did you think about Portal?
Finished that. I really enjoyed the first, probably 90% of that game a lot. And then the design changed completely for the last, 2 levels. And it was still good, but I didn't feel like it was as good as the rest. But the ending was really interesting, really hilarious.
Are you going to play Portal 2 now?
I might. My son, I heard Portal 2's 2-player co-op. Is that right?
There's a one player, there's a single player, and then there's a co-op.
Okay. And
there is
totally different games?
Yeah, they're separate. It's essentially like the single-player co-op you play by yourself. The 2-player co-op kind of takes place, I would say, within the last 60% of the game.
Okay.
It's kind of like almost like a side story, but it's still taking place kind of within the story.
My son's been really enjoying Portal as well, so we'll probably at least try the co-op
I would
together
love to see you guys play that one, because that one's you have a lot of cooperation.
Nice.
Especially playing it blind, then seeing the oh moments, like when you finally get it, like
Yeah.
all right, and then it's just like execution.
Nice. That my whole like philosophy behind playing games is the first time you play through something, it should be always be blind. Like no looking up anything on GameFAQs or using a walkthrough or anything. I do all that second or third playthrough if I come back to it.
All right.
Yeah, that's it for me. How
What about you, Jordan?
A lot of Smash, as you might imagine.
Really? I did
Smash
not expect
4
that.
in particular.
Yeah, Smash 4. I've been playing a lot of Splatoon 2 as well. That's a fun game.
I played a little bit
Sometimes.
of it. Yeah.
Do you you're still currently playing Splatoon 2? Like, do you play it a little competitively
Yeah,
or just for fun?
I mean, I like play a lot of like the ranked mode in it, and that's always fun. I'm not like in a competitive team, but you know, I like to play a lot of that game. Like, it's usually like an every week thing. I just like pick it up and play it whenever I have like downtime.
What's your weapon of choice in there?
Well, usually I play Splattershot because it's really good. Because it's one of the very few weapons that kill in 3 hits. That's not a charger or a sniper for the layman's terms. But
I
recently,
need those terms.
but
Yeah, for
recently,
Kelsey's terms.
the NZAP, which is just the NES Zapper, but it's a gun, is really good. So I've been using that because it's really good.
The gray model or the
The gray
orange
model.
model?
Orange model is still
Original.
good, but
The
not as
original
good.
one. I love using the gigantic paintbrush, the gigantic roller brush, because part of the game is get the floor covered in ink,
Yep.
not go around kill each other. So I'm the person who usually goes around trying to do his job of covering the floor.
That's
So-
good because I'm usually the guy that's ignoring the objective and just going around killing everyone. Not a lot of people.
sounds like my
people
fir-
don't like me for that.
It sounds like my friend Greg when we're playing Overwatch. He never stays near the point. I'm like, get back to the point. He's like, nah, man, I'm off killing people. So that's cool. What else you been playing?
That's the most fun part. Well, I had a lot of time on planes recently. We'll get to that. But on that plane, I started up Mario Odyssey. Just started up, so I'm not
How many
too
moons
far.
in are you after some flights?
Not too many. I can't remember. I can't tell you exactly, but I just finished
more
up
than
the
50
like
or
the
less
frozen
than 50?
the frozen desert. Less than 50.
Nice.
Okay, so you just
You're
so
on
you
the
just
second
started.
stage then, hey?
Yeah. Well, I just finished up like the frozen desert, made it all hot again, and now I went to the wood one.
I like that.
Okay.
Oh, that's one of my favorites.
It's got some nice music on that one.
What are your thoughts on
Uh,
that one so far?
I just got to it, so I can't really.
No, I don't mean that stage. I mean
Oh,
the
just
game
the game in
particular,
general.
yeah.
Oh yeah, it's great. I mean, I like all the 3D Mario's, so I mean, it's of course I'm gonna like this one. It's like it's still the same formula.
Did you grow up playing Mario 64?
No, I grew up playing Mario Sunshine and more Mario Galaxy.
Okay.
Or Jordan.
Well,
Mario
then
Galaxy,
I
that's
have a
good.
question. How do you feel like Mario Odyssey is kind of a return to proper 3D platforming Mario stuff?
I mean, it's hard to tell. I mean, like the only like real 3D platformers I really play and like get into are the Mario's, especially Galaxy. I don't think
Galaxy's
there's any
so
other
good.
game other than Galaxy 1, like any other Mario game other than Galaxy 1 that I wanted to like 100% complete, and I did that. Just because, like, you know, it's just a fun time all the way through. So I was
Yeah.
like, that's usually like my philosophy on like 100% in games. Like if I really enjoyed it, then I'll go 100% it because like it's just that much fun. It's like recently I played Bayonetta 2 and 1.
So good.
But like, you know, I finished the game and I was like, "Whoa, I love this so much. I'm still gonna enjoy 100%ing the game."
Wow.
So I went and did it.
See, I can't do that.
That's
I
a
love
tough 100%.
I love
too.
Bayonetta
Well,
1 and 2,
Bayonetta 1 is really tough to 100%. Bayonetta 2 not as much.
but even still, like trying to get pure platinum medals, I can never do that.
Yeah, I mean it's slow, but like I don't know. I just enjoy playing the game so much. I don't mind the grind.
So you're pretty pumped they just announced 3?
Oh yeah,
Are you gonna pick up Bayonetta 2 and 1 for a Switch when it comes out?
probably not on release, but I will eventually do that. Yeah,
Okay.
because you know I'm excited because like a lot of people I know didn't have a Wii U, but they really enjoyed the first Bayonetta. So you know I get to play with them because they all have a Switch because the Switch is doing so well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy good.
That's awesome.
What else have I been playing? I've been getting through Metal Gear Solid 5 because I've just had this long backlog of games I need to get through. So I've been slowly working through that before I really.
Welcome to our lives, where we just have a huge backlog of games.
So I decided, you know what, I'll play Metal Gear Solid 5, and it's okay. I don't really. I saw the reviews getting like 9s and 10s, and I'm not sure if I agree with that. But
Have
it's
you
really
played much of the series before that?
no. I'm not really a
That
huge
seems like
fan
a
of the series.
weird one to jump into. I'm not
Yeah.
really either, yeah.
I mean, it's not really too connected from what I hear from the other games. I hear that was like an intentional thing, but you know, it's really fun to play. But like eventually, like, there's so much to do and so much like that you need to actually do to just finish the game. that it's just like kind of slogging at this point. Like I'm just kind of like going through the motions.
It's kind of funny that you hopped into the Metal Gear series at number 5, because I was kind of the same way. Like when I hadn't played any of the Metal Gear, I knew of them, but when the PS3 came out and they had the announcement of Metal Gear 4, I was like, that's the game I want to buy a PS3 for.
Yeah.
So I got into Metal Gear through number 4, but then because of that, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back and play
Yeah, that's
1,
what I wanna
2,
do.
and 3. So
If I ever get a PS3, I want to just pick up like the full Legacy collection,
Yeah.
like the one with all the games in it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid collection. Doesn't miss a whole lot on it.
Yeah. Doesn't it come with the original Metal Gear 1 and 2?
The original, I believe, is a download code, and every other game is on the disc.
Yeah.
So just be aware that if you ever buy it secondhand, that you might
Yeah.
be missing out on the first game.
I think I'm trying to recall, I think it's only Metal Gear Solid is the download only title.
Yeah.
But the
yeah.
original Metal
were you
Gears,
talking,
Yeah,
like,
Metal
the
Gear,
NES
like the
one?
MSX.
the, the original ones I think are on the disc.
Interesting.
So I think I have it at home actually. So, but if you ever need the original one, I got a re-release version of it. That was it was a re-release pack for PS2s, but they put Metal
that's
Gear
right, yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 1 in there. So I have both of those.
Cool.
It's fun to play those. But the silly thing though is that it's funny is that when they brought it over to North America, they never swapped the X and circle controls. So it's still very much Japanese, where circle is your confirm and X is your back. So be aware of that when you go to play Metal Gear 1.
What else have I been playing? I've been trying to get back into more fighting games recently. Street Fighter is a big one because they just released Arcade Edition.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a pretty good update. You know, a lot of characters got new tools, new V-triggers. Every character got a new V-trigger. The new UI looks really clean. The new character select. The game loads much faster, because that was a thing. Story time, small story. What Capcom did with Street Fighter V is that the game didn't start loading until it finished all its like character select, like flashiness, in your face stuff. And then once you hit like the versus screen, that's when it started loading the game. And that was terrible because every match took like 20 seconds just to get past the versus screen. They decided that was a bad idea and fixed that. And now every match is like super snappy. You get into it like right away. And even you can even now skip all like the stuff before you even get into like the versus screen. Just hit start and you're right there.
That's such
So-
a weird
It's so
way
weird.
to design it, because it seems like a problem people would have screwed up like 10, 15 years ago when 3D was kind of catching on, that
Yeah.
most people should have ironed out by
Well,
now.
this is Capcom we're talking about, who decides to release a game one year and then next year the revised version.
Yeah.
I
Well-
was still extremely pissed off,
I
but
actually
with
like that.
Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
I like that.
Nothing surprises me for Street Fighter V anymore after they put a rootkit in the game. Like, as part of their updates, they just decided to sneak in a rootkit. I forget what it was even, like, supposed to do, but no one forgets that.
For the person who doesn't understand what that means, what's a rootkit?
I have no clue. But I know it's some kind of virus.
Oh, okay.
I just like to meme about it a lot.
Okay, so you had a fair amount of gaming happening this week.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I've been kind of this relates to like the fighting game things. Before we move on, I got my own fight stick. I'm sure a bunch of the Street Fighter guys have probably already seen it, but it's made out of wood, so people are calling it the IKEA. And I think it's a very appropriate name, but that's kind of why I've been getting to fighting games more. Even though, like, you know, start of the year, I don't have any like big Smash tournaments to worry about start of the year, so I'm just like playing other games now. Yeah, so I'm kind of like diversifying more.
I was gonna say before we continue moving on stuff, I was gonna ask, are there any games upcoming this year that you're looking forward to, with exception maybe Dragon Ball FighterZ that just came out yesterday?
Yeah, that was a big one. I'm sure I'll pick that one up eventually. Of course, Bayonetta 3 is huge.
I don't know if that'll be out this year though.
maybe.
Next year.
I heard somewhere they want to bring it out in 2018
For
but-
Bayonetta?
Amazing.
Bayonetta 3,
Yeah.
but I don't think they will.
Oh, Bayonetta.
All
3.
they've shown is a teaser, so no actual gameplay yet.
Yeah, they just filmed it like a
What about?
game show awards.
That's right. Yeah. Soul Calibur 6.
Soul Calibur 6, that's it's actually like I'm liking that one because I'm not huge into Soul Calibur or 3D fighters in general actually. But the stuff they've shown off for Soul Calibur 6 actually makes me like pretty excited. Their new character they've shown off just the other day, Gro. He's super edgy, and that's like that's me. I gotta choose him.
I'm still waiting to who they're gonna reveal as like the special licensed
Yeah.
character.
Oh man, Namco Bandai
'Cause-
does the best guest characters, hands down.
Because I'm trying to think who they've done. Like the Soul Calibur 2 era, they had the split one where they had Link for GameCube, they had one
Spawn
character from
and
Tekken and
Heihachi.
Spawn,
And Heihachi, yeah.
and then they went Star Wars route,
Star Wars route was
and then
sweet.
Assassin's Creed, and then
Uh,
from there it kind of fell off.
Well, I mean, if you go to the other side of Namco Bandai's fighting games, Tekken had some really great guest characters.
Akuma.
Akuma, Geese Howard, Noctis.
Right, yeah. I forgot about Noctis.
Yeah.
That's a weird one.
That's a weird one. I mean, Star Wars was a weird one too,
Yeah.
but I mean, these they use swords ish.
I think that sells the game to people who may have never played a Soul Calibur or are not even
Exactly.
into fighting games. Yeah.
That's actually like a way more effective way of getting people in than you might think.
Yeah. No, I believe that.
Like I said, it depends on who that licensed character is. That's going to determine if I buy it or not.
Yeah,
so.
because I've definitely had people start playing Smash because Cloud was in it. At least I've heard it. I don't think that was a thing locally.
I could see that. He's a
But, like,
pretty prominent character.
Final Fantasy character, sweet, I'm in. I mean, as much as I regret Cloud being in Smash, that's a gripe for another time.
I'm kind of the same way. Like I shake my head because I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan, but at least it was a shocking choice.
It was so
because,
shocking, yeah.
You know, people would never thought that
So out of left
Square
field.
Enix would play friendly with Nintendo to do a fighting character like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then the inclusion with Bayonetta on the way, I was like, okay, that's actually we have some interesting characters coming in. So
yeah, all the guest characters, well, most of the guest characters for Smash are pretty cool.
still
can't-
no Shantae though. I wanted Shantae in there and she didn't get in.
You see, like, I know a lot of people were really excited for Shulk, but I'm not a huge Xenoblade guy, so
I
Can't say
I
much
don't.
about that.
I hate Shulk. He's so annoying. I don't like how he speaks. I hate his voice. I just want him gone.
I mean, I hate Shulk too, just for different reasons.
I like
See-
his sword, but outside of that, he's not a very interesting character even visually.
Yeah.
Unless he's in his swim trunks. Then very visually appealing.
Of course. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Welcome to Creep Quest.
Creep Quest, yeah.
It's me.
All right. Well, then let's get into the main chunk of everything here. So obviously, you are our special guest today here, and we're going to be talking Smash Brothers and talking to you about fighting stuff and everything. So first thing I wanted to ask is, how did you get into Smash Brothers competitively?
I have this man to thank right here.
Ah.
What was it? 2013.
Yeah.
School year just started, and I heard about this new place called Game Quest that just opened. And then I went there, and they were like, oh, we were running a Melee tournament. You got to sign up now, though.
And this was at the
This is
the
at the old location.
A
It's
tiny
really
little
cramped.
hole in the wall, yeah.
Yeah, so I signed up for that, and it was very cramped. Most of the people had to like wait outside at that tournament because
It was
the
something
building
like
was so small.
we were so new, and that was our basically our first event. So we estimated we'd cap out at 10 people, and we'd call that successful. And there was way more than 10 people there.
Yeah, I think the first one was capped at 20, if I recall correctly.
Is it? I don't.
I think so. I can't say for sure.
Yeah,
for sure,
it's been
but
a
I
while.
think it was 20. And then I just kind of went from a lot of the Game Quest events because, well, it's I'm getting out of the house, having a good time. But then eventually, at some point, I was like, man, I kind of want to take this a bit more seriously, and I kind of want to win some stuff. So around late 2015-ish, early 2016, I'd say more early 2016, I started getting into it more, started taking the games more seriously. And from there, it's just where we are now, I'm going to California for tournaments.
Yeah, you're putting down some money to travel now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, due to some circumstances, due to other trips where I had to get my flights canceled, so I got a pretty big voucher. That's how I got to Genesis very cheap.
Nice.
So I basically had my flights covered, and hotel was pretty easy because it was just split, and then I just had to pay for registration. So that was an easy one, but I'm sure going to other tournaments outside of the country are going to be a lot harder.
I imagine that must be hard because I in October went down to Vancouver for the Pokemon TCG regionals.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Because it's nearby. It was within driving distance. I stayed with some friends, so I figured that I would go down. And we actually
exactly.
had one other player also join us down there too. So we were see how well we did. And I did not too bad for being my first time there. But I just can't imagine having a life where you're just constantly traveling around, going to tournaments. So like that's like I got to give you kudos
Yeah,
for doing that kind of thing. Like you're probably not as extreme
Yeah.
as maybe some of the other people, but you do still every now and then go and travel, and that takes quite a bit of little bit of life out of you because traveling is just drains the energy out.
Oh yeah, definitely. You should have seen me on Monday when I got back. I was dead. I was a zombie. Yeah, a lot of pro players, they travel a lot. They're basically traveling every week. It's their livelihood, But, for me, it's not, my life doesn't depend on it. But, the top players, I just said, 4 times. Top players, they're traveling like every week. And they make their lives out of it. So I have a lot of respect for those guys.
It's a big investment, yeah, not just money-wise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of bounce back to what you're saying, I don't know how many people know. I don't even remember if you know, but Jordan was actually the very first person who's not like a friend or family that came to GameQuest. Because I remember you and your dad came by like the day before we
remember this.
opened. We're just looking in the window, and so we invited you guys in to come.
I remember
take a
that.
look
Yeah.
around.
I don't even
Aw.
because I remember that. My old friend. I haven't talked to him in years. His name is Jake. He was like, "Hey, well, he's a good guy, so I have no problem saying his name."
Here's looking at you, Jake.
Shout outs to you. He was like, "Hey, GameQuest is a new place, and it's really cool, and it's like open now." So I was like, "Oh, I'll go there," and then it wasn't open.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the day before we opened that you guys came by.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just like finished that up, and we were gonna head out and go have like a celebration dinner that all the painting and organizing and pricing and all that junk was done.
I actually forgot all about it until you just told me about it, and then it
Yeah.
all came flooding back.
Yeah, number one,
What was the opening year for you guys again?
2013. I think it was September like 2nd or 3rd. It was on the long weekend.
Okay. Because I'm trying to recall when I came back into town. Because probably when you opened, I think I was still living in Burnaby at the time. But I think that was the year I was moving back up here. So.
You see, I met a lot of people that first year in particular. Yeah. And like you said, like I used to go to the first bunch of Smash Bros events, and you guys have obviously not seen me in like 2+ years now at them.
Yeah. There's still your set. The one set you played on a recording stream. You are still up on YouTube.
Oh, I'm immortalized.
It's actually like one of our most viewed sets.
Of course it is. I had the most beautiful person on the.
Yeah, it was so.
We don't care
back
about the
then.
game. Who's that stunning man in the background?
But I used to show up to these, and I would do okay at them. I never won anything, but I was always in the top half of the players.
Yeah.
And then, like Jordan said, like a lot of people, like within the year, were like, I want to take this a lot more seriously, and I could not keep up with you guys anymore. There was just this huge spike where I would go from like
Yeah.
top half to like literally bottom every time.
About 2016 was like the year a lot of people decided, from here at least, that like, all right, we're gonna go big, we're gonna go in, and
I've noticed that. Do you think that was there any particular catalyst, or is that just the whole local community like kind of moving in the same direction together at the same time?
I think for a lot of people, it was like they went to Genesis 3,
Mhm.
which is the same event I went to, but 2 years ago, and that was pretty huge because I was like at the start of 2016, and after that, I remember everyone was like, "All right, I'm playing Smash for like 100 hours a day," and just like putting my time into it, and that like made our scene a lot better, I think.
It's grown, like not just in skill, but in like player base, definitely.
Yeah, I feel like so through 2017, late 2016, early 2017, it was kind of like a drought. Like not a lot of people were showing up. A lot of our regulars stopped showing up. But through the last half of the year and starting this year, we're getting like a really big resurgence in numbers and people showing up, and even skill. Like there's a lot better people. Like even our old regulars are getting a lot better now, and it's actually like way better for the scene.
Absolutely. I keep seeing a lot of posts on the PG Smash Facebook where people are just like, someone come over on Saturday, I want to practice this thing for like 5 hours. And like,
Yeah.
there's just people like actively looking for chances to get better.
Yeah, everyone's like
Actually,
going
I think it
over
was
to their
even
houses.
this morning that I quickly saw on that same page. There was like a group coming from Grand Prairie or something,
Yep.
asking people, "Hey, can we stay with someone? We want to hang with
Yeah.
some cool Smash people." I'm like,
See
that's
a lot more
pretty
people
cool.
traveling, which
Yeah.
is really cool to see. So that can shake things up big time.
Yeah. I know a lot of us went down to Vancouver for Battle of BC 2, which was a huge tournament. In like the ranking systems for Smash, it's like a B tier event.
Mhm.
So there's like C, B, A, and S tier events. Once you get so many like top ranked players or so many entrants, you can get on that ranking system. So this is a B tier ranked event, and one of our players got 49th there, Matthew Kipling. So that was pretty good.
Okay. Out of how many participants?
I don't know. I can't remember offhand. I think it was like 250 if I recall correctly,
Nice.
something like that.
Okay, so he was like top 20%
Yeah.
of the group.
So yeah, he did really well there. But that's kind of like where a lot of us got our foot in the door in like BC wide stuff, because a lot of people, they saw like that we were actually like not bad. I mean, we're still like not as good as somewhere like Vancouver or like
There's some hope above hope.
yeah. Yeah. I just got that. So it took me a second.
That's the oldest, longest running joke of all of anybody in BC, that there's no hope above hope. No, there is hope above hope.
But yeah, we're not as good as like Vancouver, but we're decent now. Especially like 2017 was a huge year for us. Like a lot of people, like Ray got a lot better.
Yeah, I don't remember ever seeing him on top of the leaderboards, and all of a sudden it's like top 3 very consistently. It seemed like.
I want to call out all of PG Smash for. I was like, oh man, Ray's really good. He's gonna be like the next like top player here. Nobody believed me, and then 3 months he took like sets off everyone, including myself.
You should have put some money down on that, man.
Well, I didn't know. I didn't know he would even like show up to more stuff, because it's just one day. He was like, I was like, hey, who wants to practice for? I forget what this is for. This is for Power Up actually, and he was like, all right, sure, I'll come. And I wasn't expecting anything, because I was like, who are you? I mean, I knew who he was, but like I didn't think anything of him. But then I played, I'm like, wow, this guy's actually pretty good. And then he got a lot better too. Like 2017 was just huge.
Yeah, it's neat to see everybody like laddering off of each other. Like one player gets really good and then starts making some gains, and then somebody else starts doing it.
Yeah, that's kind of like
Just,
a huge thing here. Like
There's a little
Matthew Kipling.
they seem like friendly rivalries, and
Yeah.
like the whole tide is rising up, not just like one player.
Yeah, Matthew Kipling, he was like the best for a bit, but then there was like a time where I was like, all right, I had enough of this. So then I went up to the top, and even on the Facebook banner, it still says I'm number 1, but I did argue that he's number 1 again now. So, it just kind of like, keeps going back and forth. People are getting better.
Do you guys
That's
have like
sweet.
a Smash Brothers like trophy belt that you have to pass back and forth between each other when like
I wish. That's a good idea.
I also wanted to ask you about the because since you're wearing it on your nice hoodie there, your nice Genesis hoodie. I wanted to ask you about your
that
Genesis
too.
about the Genesis event.
Oh,
If you want to tell me like details, like how many people were there, what your thoughts were when you were there.
Maybe just explain it in general to people who might not be familiar with it.
All right, so Genesis is a huge Smash event it used to be in, what was it, San Jose? And now it's in Oakland. It was in Oakland this year. And it's one of the biggest Smash events ever. It's really historical, too, because the first one was in 2009.
In terms of scope, is it like bigger than Evo or
No,
about the same
not
size?
as big as Evo, but for a Smash-centric event, it's pretty big.
Okay,
It's
so
one of the biggest ones.
it was just pure Smash Brothers. That was it.
Originally. Now they've expanded into more games, like Street Fighter's there, Marvel vs. Capcom's
You
there.
said they were doing a DDR tournament.
They were doing
this year?
DDR there. What else was there? Splatoon was there too. That's a great one.
Okay, but they started off as a
they started
Smash.
off as Smash only, and it's where the big rivalry of 2 great melee players, Mango and Armada, really shined. And then Genesis 2 happened. I think it was 2010 or 2011, and then they took a couple years off, and then they came back with Genesis 3 in, what would that be, 2016? Yeah. So January 2016.
What would you say would be like the demographic of players, like in terms of like where they're from, like mainly everybody from North America, or?
It's mainly North America, because a lot of like the entrants depend on where the event is located. So this is when it was in California, so there was a lot of California Smashers going there. But of course there was people from all over the world, like a lot of people from Japan go there. Of course people from Canada, like myself. The guy who won it is from Mexico.
Nice.
Nice.
This is a pretty good spread, dude.
How did
Yeah.
you do? So how many players were there, and what was your ranking?
So I entered Smash 4. I think that's gotta like clarify. Yeah, I was in Smash 4. And Smash 4 had just shy of 700 entrants, and I did really well. I got 97th, although part of that is just a really good stroke of luck. Like
I'm gonna say that's impressive because like I'm trying to do the math in my head here. That's at least the top 15%.
yeah,
So that's saying something because like when I went down to the Pokemon one, like we had over 350 masters in the section I was, and I was ranked 133. So I was at least within the top 40% of everybody in North America, and I was using a deck that was not a meta deck. So but for you, for being within like top 15, that's impressive.
yeah, it's pretty good. Though I think I should explain why I did so good. So there's a stage that's used called Lilac Cruise in Smash. We use it competitively. I don't think it should be used competitively, but I'll accept it for now because of what happened. So the main reason, one of the main reasons people don't like it is because it's like it tilts back and forth, but when it starts and where it tilts or like in which direction is random. So basically, I was in last game against this Ryu player, and he hit me off stage, but I traded with him because I hit him with my own move. But because Lilat decided to tilt up and away from him, he couldn't make it back on the stage. So I just got like really good RNG that it tilted at that time and went at that direction.
And then that other player obviously was tilted.
Yeah, so there is like quite a bit of people like supporting me and supporting him behind us because this is like winner makes it out of pools, losers eliminated, and everyone, even like the people supporting me, were just like, oh, well, that's it. Like, great stage.
How far into the event was that match?
That was so loser gets out of what would you be knocked out then? Whatever is worse than 129th. I don't know what that is. So what?
1/30th.
No. I mean, I guess, but that's like double elimination bracket, so you can't get 1/30th. But it's something like I want to say like 193rd. Yeah, it's 193rd. It was the loser gets that. And then the next day,
it's a big jump.
Yeah, so the winner of that, which was me, gets guaranteed at least 129th. Thank you, game. I appreciate your support. So the winner of that gets guaranteed 129th. So they're like, hey, you win. Come back tomorrow. You get to play.
So
just sweet.
Do you think when the next big argument over what stages are included or not, you're like gonna have gameplay footage of your event at Genesis with people saying like, this is why we don't have Lilat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, as much as I don't like, usually all the stages, because in every Smash game, it usually starts off with a much more, free stage list, and then people decide, all right, this one's not really good. We're gonna remove this one. This one should be like a counter pick. So
I actually wanted to ask you about that because the one thing that I found when I was watching you guys, the power-up events, and anytime you guys have been playing at GameQuest and stuff, because you guys have those, this is mainly for Melee, but you guys have those memory cards that are built in that just pre-eliminates everything for a certain set for like what stages you're allowed to use and stuff.
yeah.
Why do you think there are so many, stages removed? Obviously because like some have like some major stage hazards and stuff.
Yeah.
Where it just gets down to the point where you guys are just literally fighting on a flat platform and that's it. Like, why do you think they, every competitive game, like, thoroughly goes through and tries to eliminate any stage that has any sort of randomness to it?
Just because people don't like losing to things that are not part of like their mistake. Like anything that's like an outside influence, like people really don't like it if like they're distracted while they're playing and then they lose because of it.
Aren't there
It's the
some,
same
even
kind of-
like some Street Fighter stages where there's just too much going on in the background so they
Yep.
don't have to get picked?
Like there's a stage in Street Fighter V which is like a beach stage, which is pretty cool. Like it's really good looking, but like there's water covering everyone's ankles. So in a lot of cases you can't distinct like a crouching medium kick from like a crouching heavy kick. So people just don't know what what they need to punish it if they don't have like the audio cue of what strength the move is. So that stage is banned. But back more in Smash, just really that people don't like uncertainty and outcome. They really want to like if they lost, it's their fault.
Because I can see like stages like go into Smash 4 for those who haven't figured out what we're talking about, the latest Smash Brothers for Wii U.
Yep.
I can understand stages like the Metroid Other M stage where like Ridley comes and stuff.
Yeah.
He's a major stage hazard, so I can see definitely why he gets eliminated out. But weird stuff where it's like I think it's like the Animal Crossing stage, where like I see you guys always selecting the Omega version of it, and I keep thinking to myself, what stage hazards are in this stage that really cause you to be
Is that
distracted.
the one with the moving platform, or am I mixing that up?
Well, there's 2 Animal Crossing stages. We don't choose the Omega form of either. Both Animal Crossing stages are perfectly fine.
Okay. But I'm just thinking like those stages where it's like the stage seems perfectly fine except for maybe one little thing and it gets completely eliminated out.
I think his
Uh,
Lilat discussion kind of
Yeah, that's
answers
like
your question.
he didn't lose because I beat him. He lost because the stage beat him.
And
So,
that that seems very minor at first glance, but then you have
But,
these
like,
situations that might happen
yeah,
one in
he-
50 matches.
Yeah, he had a huge lead against me too, right? So I was in a very high percent on my last stock, and he was at very low percent. But because I hit him, and then the stage decided, nope, I won. I was like, okay.
Well, doesn't that make it a little more interesting in the game that you have to be aware of
Not
the
at a
randomness?
competitive level.
It's not okay. It'd be fine if it wasn't random. Like,
You have to count rotations or something while you're playing. And
yeah.
pay
So
attention.
that's actually like leads to a good point. So Yoshi's Story is a stage in Melee where there's a cloud that rotates around the stage, but it's on a set track. So people are fine with it because as long as you learn when it's going to come out, then there's no randomness to it. You'll know when it's going to happen.
Right, because you know, like if you're fighting your opponent and you're about to knock him off, you're like, wait, this is like the 1 second where that cloud's about to come up and would give him an extra platform to step up on.
Yeah. And Dreamland's also another stage in almost every Smash except for Brawl, where there's the Wispy, which is the big tree, and it breathes.
Yeah, where Wispy blows
But it
blows the wind direction some
yeah,
way.
but it's not exactly random because it'll always blow where there's most players in that direction. So if most players are to the right of the tree, it'll blow to the right. So like a lot of that stuff, which is not random and can be seen coming, is perfectly fine. But there are usually 2 reasons why stages are banned. One is again, it provides like a chance of luck. So you know you don't really want that. So like again, like the Lilat thing, that's a big one. And 2 is that it can actually just invalidate some characters. Like Duck Hunt used to be a stage that was legal, but there's this big tree in Duck Hunt on the left side, and there's a very tall platform on Duck Hunt that characters like Little Mac and Ganondorf, who are too slow to make it up that tree, just can't reach without using their up B, which puts them into a lot of lag, so you can punish them for it and hit them. So that stage is banned because it just invalidates certain characters.
I didn't know that. Because I do remember you guys playing that stage when it was first out. That's interesting.
I wanted to ask that question that we just finished because like I can recall. Do you ever follow the Game Theory channel? With
I
Matt
used
Pat.
to, but I don't anymore.
Okay, there was one video that I'll put into the description to follow the link. It was a video on why they shouldn't ban skimpy outfits in the Tekken series, because they were saying like you know they were banning it because it was distracting players, and Matt Pat's argument was that's the whole point of the game is that obviously because you guys are playing a game where you only have like 3 frame window to do something. So if you distract your opponent just enough of a frame, that it'll give you a slight advantage. But it was just all psychological advantage. Like it was nothing actually game breaking and stuff. And I was kind of in that same boat where it's like, simply allow it. It's not like a stage hazard where it's something that would completely wreck a character. It was just something that's more of a psychological trick.
I think the only time where that actually comes into like any sort of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Scrutiny? Yeah. Is when it's something like Street Fighter V. The EVO finals were live on ESPN.
And they didn't want to see like
and-
Mika slap her ass and stuff like that. on
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. Well, that too. But there's like costumes that ESPN considered too revealing, so they had to like swap something like Armika's costume to
Wasn't
something.
there like a cami issue too? One of the players played a certain cami costume they wouldn't allow.
Yeah.
But
There's
doesn't
a-
like Cammy like always have like skin tight
She
outfits
wears no
on?
pants. She basically in like
yeah,
a bathing suit.
she wears no
Yeah.
pants. But you gotta like the only time where that actually is like a thing or like any sort of a problem is that
When it comes to like
when it comes to,
broadcasting
like,
stuff.
yeah, when you gotta like please your sponsors. And that's,
Well, see with the broadcasting thing with ESPN, like because they have to answer to the FCC and stuff, that's maybe why there was a little bit of scrutiny there. But I find it's just kind of, for those kind of things, it's kind of silly. Like there's nobody like you don't have a character walking around who's completely naked or anything like that.
yeah, and unless there's like some kind of like law against it, like the FCC or something like that to prevent something like that, I don't see why.
Do you think now that games like that are becoming more popular to show on TV, that new development's gonna maybe just tone that down internally and make different games than they would if they weren't being broadcast?
What do you mean?
Like if like the next Street Fighter comes out, maybe they cut Cammy or Mika, or they just have them like fully closed so they don't really look like themselves anymore, and they just do that internally to like censor themselves rather than have issues where you have a player who's like, this is the costume I always play, this is what I'm comfortable in.
Yeah.
I can't use it for this big event.
It's funny you bring that up because you know, Soul Calibur 6 is coming out, and the developers were really concerned because you know Ivy, very.
I was gonna
very
say
revealing-
it's probably gonna be Ivy.
very
but-
revealing character, but they were concerned because they were wondering if they could actually get away with her very skimpy outfit in today's kind of times, and I think that's actually a big issue because you know, it goes against like what the developers might be, like what the designers might want.
That almost like just
put in.
eliminates like a game like Dead or Alive ever having a chance of being
Yeah, exactly.
broadcasted. Like,
Well, to be fair, Dead or Alive wasn't that big of a game anyways.
You say
But-
that now, but maybe in 6 months when they reveal something, it ends up being the next
Yeah,
the
true.
next Smash 4.
That's definitely true. Like, there's definitely like an issue, but I think it's just like it's probably gonna need to be like a necessary sacrifice if we want to grow past like a grassroots level. But for something like locals here, like if there was something like going on at GameQuest that was like a Soul Calibur tournament, I'm sure it'd be just fine.
we've done Soul Calibur enough for a long time, but yeah, I don't remember anyone complaining or having an issue with any
That'd be
characters.
funny, but yeah, I'd hope not. Yeah, I don't think it'll be an issue on like smaller scale stuff. Like even like something like I was talking about, like Battle of BC2. There's no way that would like ever be like someone would
issue.
ever criticize it for like being too revealing. Like someone's using like the more revealing Zero Suit Samus skin. Like no one's ever gonna say anything
Yeah.
about that.
And like you were saying too, like if a person's used to using a skin that they're used to playing on a character all the time, and then they have to swap to something else, it can definitely throw them off. Because I know when I used to play League of Legends, I kind of burnt myself out. But I used to play Vel'Koz all the time, and I always played Mecha Vel'Koz.
Yeah.
And the one time I was like, you know what, I'm gonna switch back to his old school skin. I was completely thrown off that game because the way that like his one attack splits off into 2 different missiles was just slightly animated, just slightly, like 1 or 2 frames off, that it kept throwing me off.
Yeah.
So I can definitely see where, like, you know, it's funny where you have a skin that you love all the time, you get used to it so much, and then to be drastically changed can completely throw you
In
off.
games like Street Fighter 2, where it's so
Yep. important
to know hitboxes, and even though the hitbox is in the same spot, you kind of judge the distance on your costume, so that can be quite a big.
Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, actually, didn't they have
Actually,
like last year? Didn't they have something like that where it was like someone's costume, like a hat or something like that? Like it was throwing people off because the hitbox was still at his regular position, but the hat made it look like it was a little bit larger.
I forget anything about
I
that,
don't
but
remember
it's funny
how
that you mentioned
specifically.
Street Fighter, because in online for Street Fighter, if you are choosing the same character and costume as your opponent online, it'll always give that costume to whoever's ranked higher, and then you just get stuck with the default costume, which is what happened
Really?
to me. So I forgot which one I was in like one of my games, because I'm usually used to the one costume of Ken that I usually play. But because this guy got it, I got to have the
But-
default costume.
But doesn't the game like you pick a costume and then don't you pick a color of the costume?
Yeah, but when you play in the ranked mode, you pick the character, color, and costume before you even.
But no, but still, but if you pick the exact same character, the exact same costume, and the exact same color as the previous guy, the guy whoever is the highest rank gets the priority, and then the person below just gets set to default.
Yeah.
That is so weird.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. I'm not sure if they fixed that in Arcade Edition.
I would hope they would fix it because that seems really weird. Like I can understand why they do that. Like it just happens to be that one time where everybody picks the exact same setting,
Yeah.
but
But
like why wouldn't they just maybe, you know, you still stay that same color, but maybe yours is like super like saturated down where like you're almost pale.
that's what it is in Smash. Well, actually, you get like you're it's just like you're darker, like you're in a big shadow. But that's what Smash does. If you're the same character, same color. But I don't know why Street Fighter doesn't have something
I
like
feel
that.
like that's what fighting games have done since like the early '90s. It seems like a step
It is
backwards
darker,
again.
yeah. Make the other guy darker, but
Yeah.
it's not what Street Fighter does. They're too cool for that.
Even like Street Fighter 2 like
Did
did
that,
that,
yeah.
properly. It's weird.
Kind of coming back to the whole competition stuff. There's one thing I wanted to ask you because I do notice not saying within our own group, but like within fighting game community and stuff and everything, there are obviously a lot of people who that, they get stressed out on certain moments. They feel really salty about certain stuff. I wanted to ask you, how do you cope with frustrating moments while you're playing games? Like, do you feel like you get really salty, or do you feel like you stay really composed while you're playing?
I mean, I feel like I get salty a lot of the times, but I've seen some people, even in town, you know who you are, and they get really salty at just like losing in general. Like, I don't usually mind just losing because there's always like next week here, but it definitely feels bad, especially when you're at like a big stage. Like if I were to lose like round 1 at Genesis, that would have made me feel pretty bad.
Like the Ryu player probably felt pretty.
The Ryu player
salty.
was feeling awful. I could tell you that right now. He was not happy when he walked off and was having his hands in his face, and I'm like, I feel bad for you.
Did he at least shake hands with you though?
Oh yeah, he did.
Okay, that's good.
Like, I mean, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's still good games. Shake his hand, but yeah, I know that like a lot of people, they just like walk away from the group. Like they don't want to stay in that environment for a bit. They just like cool off, and that's a really good one, I find. Usually, I don't really like have any like lasting like saltiness or anger after like a loss, but that's a good one as well. But like I just like think about like if I lose in winners, I'm just thinking like, all right, well there's still losers. Even if it was like a bad loss, I can still bring it back. But like if you lose it, I definitely feel bad whenever I lose. But it's never like
You don't take it too personally or anything like that.
No, not usually. Except for this one time where no, never mind. I was
No, it's good. It's good that you guys obviously like the ones who if you do get stressed and stuff, obviously take that opportunity to walk away from the group, let yourself calm down a bit.
Yeah, I find that's usually just like the best one, just like relieve your stress or like
Instead of the typical you see it all the time on YouTube, the typical salty videos where the person's like yanking the controller out or even smashing the controller and they walk away and they're gone and the guy's still sitting there like, hey, let's shake hands. Like,
I've definitely done that where like somebody's like getting mad at me and I just like
egg them on a little bit.
yeah.
I think we probably should have mentioned it up front too, but we're primarily talking about Smash Bros. Melee and 4.
Yeah.
Why do you think 1 Brawl have not kind of caught off? I kind of know a little bit of it, but I think you can speak more to it than I.
So I wasn't really too big into competitive Smash when Brawl was a huge thing, but basically, until Brawl's release, Melee was like a pretty big scene. Not as big as it is today, of course, but it was pretty much the only thing. But a lot of people, when Brawl came out, it was a much slower game than Melee, and a lot of people were very divisive on it. So a lot of people like stayed back with Melee, but some people moved on to Brawl. But Brawl had its own set of issues. It's had some really weird character imbalances, Meta Knight and Ice Climbers being a couple prime examples of really good characters that shut down a lot of the cast.
wasn't Snake also?
Snake was also really
had
good.
a bit of a like weird cheap ploys to it, like with his grenade cannon or his. Or I'm trying to remember what it's actually called. It's
Yeah,
like the-
something like
the-
missile launcher.
Yeah, the little. I'll eventually think of what the actual weapon is called. But
Yeah.
I think you know what you're talking about. It was where it fires, you go, and it fires straight up.
He had a really good. There was something he had that was really good. So basically, he could like his dash attack. He just went to like a somersault.
Yeah.
He could like cancel out of his dash attack and go into that like missile, but it slid him halfway across the stage, and it was really funny to look at. But nobody really liked it because you could actually combo one into each other. So you do the roll, cancel that into the missile launcher, and it hit somebody. And that was one of the reasons why Snake was really good. But Snake was very good in Brawl. He had this kick move where he like put his leg like straight up, but if I put my leg straight up and I was Snake, it would have hit Dustin. It was actually like the longest disjoint in the game.
So then they obviously had some sort of like hitbox issues.
Yeah, Snake was riddled with hitbox issues, way better than he probably should have ever been. But when Smash 4 came out, a lot of people were like, all right, well, this is the new stuff because it's balanced better. A lot of the problems of the game are gone, as in Ice Climbers and Snake, they're out. Meta Knight's way worse. Meta Knight found his way back to the top at some point, but
Well, to do justice to the Ice Climbers, it wasn't they got eliminated out because they were a broken character. It's because they couldn't.
Too many on screen.
There was too many on-screen
do it for
characters, so
3DS.
they were having that issue.
Yeah.
So
But,
not that he was removed because of competitive issues. It
Yeah,
was
exactly.
because of,
I don't think they'd ever remove anyone for competitive issues. Otherwise, Fox wouldn't have made it to Brawl.
Actually, on that question too, this is more of a personal thing. How do you feel about clone characters? It's one of the things that when I play Smash Brothers, I absolutely cannot stand anymore. And when we had Brawl, we had a lot of clone
A lot of
characters.
clones.
So when Smash 4 was coming out, I was like, hopefully maybe they'll finally adjust these characters. But I still notice there's so many clone characters because like Fox, Falco, and Wolf are all pretty much exactly the same character. They all have the exact same final smash.
So he just died a little inside.
Slightly different attacks.
Final smashes don't really take account in
Not in your guys' competitive,
yeah.
but like for me as like a regular casual player.
I always felt I don't agree with you that they're clones. Like especially going from like Fox to Wolf. Like
Fox to Wolf are nothing the same.
slow and heavy, and he just feels different.
But
all
what about
around.
like Captain Falcon and Ganondorf? Like I know Ganondorf is slower and he hits harder.
Yeah, like they
but
might
they're-
have some
they're-
similarities, but they just feel so different when you like just put half an hour in one, half an hour in the other. Like they don't feel like the same character.
There are some
But I
characters
just-
which are like semi-clones. So like Captain Falcon and Ganondorf's a good example. By Melee, they were pretty much the same character, except Ganondorf was slower and had like a couple different moves. But by like Brawl and Smash 4, they're different enough so that like they fit different niches. The only problem I have with clones are the times where it's like Pit and Dark Pit, who are pretty much the same character minus different forward tilts, different side Bs, and a different final smash. Which again, the final smash really doesn't really take into effect in competitive play. So a different forward tilt and a different side B, and different neutral B. But in all cases, you're probably always going to choose Pit over Dark Pit because there's times where Dark Pit side B is better, but in every other scenario, you're going to choose Pit because he's the better of the two. So there's no real reason to ever play Dark Pit, which is the worst thing I think a clone can ever accomplish.
So what you're saying is like between clones and semi-clone characters, that players obviously look at the character who's maybe better at the overall game compared to maybe a niche attack pattern.
Kind of. A lot of times semi-clones can fix problems that like people are like, oh, I don't like this character, but this other character kind of has some things that are different, which makes me like him more. Like, for example, Fox and Falco are semi-clones, but I could never get the hang of Fox. Like, I get his game plan and I know how to fight against him, but I could never play him myself. But even though Falco's a worse character, I can still kind of play him because he just kind of fits me more. Even though they're still like semi-clones, just like the differences between them makes me prefer one over the other. Even though I don't play Falco seriously because he's not good, I still like playing him more than Fox. But there are situations where clone characters like Marth and Lucina, Marth, he has like the tip on his sword, but Lucina doesn't. Lucina's sword does the same damage all the way through. They're clone characters, but there's still often situations where you'd want to pick Lucina over Marth.
Yeah, because isn't Lucina like slightly a little faster than Marth? No?
They have the same run speed. I think the only difference between them, aside from like the sword differences, is that Marth is a little taller. So he can grab ledges just a little bit before Lucina could. But they're pretty much the same character in that regard.
But then wouldn't that also mean that maybe he has a slightly taller hitbox than she does?
That's true as well. There's always the thing is with Marth and Lucina is that while Marth might be generally a better character, there's still situations where you'd want to pick Lucina over Marth, which is I think a really good thing for being a clone character, because it not only does it add diversity to like your matchup spread, so you could you want to play one character while you're fighting another character, and then the other while you're fighting a certain group of others. But it also it's a really good thing about clones to do that, because when you're comparing that to like Pit and Dark Pit, where you're always just going to want to choose Pit, it's good to have situations where you want to choose the other character, because not only does it use the same skill set as the other character, but you also just get rewarded for having to like diversify your characters and your matchup spreads. So you'll
to kind of piggyback off this topic, what are your thoughts on tier lists?
I feel like I'm terrible with tier lists because I usually like look at who's the top. All right, pick that guy. But like,
I think a lot of people do that. They look at the list and say, okay, these are the only 3 to 5 characters that are viable, and then they just scrap the rest.
Let me rephrase. That's not exactly how I do things. I look at like who I enjoy, and then who's like the best out of who I enjoy. Right. So so let's say the main character I use in Smash 4 is Mario. Right. He was like in a group of characters that I really like playing, like Falco, Roy's a good example too. But Mario is just like the best out of those ones that I really like playing. So I was like, all right, well, I'll put my time into Mario because there's a lot of people that play Mario, so I'll be able to like get better with him faster.
Sure.
Which I think is also, I'm not sure if I would think that's a good thing or not about tier lists, but so there's a lot of people playing top tiers, so you can get better with them faster. But not a lot of people playing the low tiers. So if you decide to be like a low tier hero, you can't really do that. But to be more general about it, I feel like tier lists are fine because I feel like, in my opinion, tier lists state the general meta at the time. Like they reflect which characters are doing the best, but not the characters which might be the best, but just which characters are doing the best and have the best results.
Are there situations in the Smash tier list where it's been long enough that the game's been out, they seem almost set in stone, but then there's like an upset and someone jumps or drops a couple tiers?
I can use Melee as a great example of this.
Okay.
So Yoshi in the very early tier lists was like very low. There's 26 characters in Melee, right? And Yoshi used to be like 18th, 20th. I think he went down to like 23rd at one point. So he was considered really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason, He doesn't have an up B that sends him up anywhere. He just has a little egg throw. He didn't really have like too much of a good... so a lot of characters, to explain this, so a lot of characters, when they put up their shield in Smash, they can jump out of it. Yoshi can't do that, so it limited a lot of his options. Until a few years ago, there was this Japanese player named Amsa who played Yoshi, and due to his results alone, he's gone from this really low tier character to like 12th in the game. 12th, I think. So there's been a lot of instances of that in Smash. Like Donkey Kong in Smash 4 is a good example, although he had some buffs from the game. I think Smash 4 was really interesting for that because it had balance patches.
Right.
But after the buffs that Donkey Kong got, he went from a really bad character to a really good one really fast.
Well, I guess that's the thing about tiers too. Like you can look at anything, whether it's fighting games, card games, whatnot. Like a lot of things where they're tiers, because I can think when I'm playing Pokemon TCG that we have people who buy cards and they look at a card and go, "Oh, that card's useless. It's useless completely." And I'm like, "Well, no. It might be low on the tier list right now until you figure out how to use it properly, or you find that little, some sort of loophole in the game that lets you make this card really good." Because that's happened in previous card games, and I'm sure it's the same thing with Smash characters.
It's definitely happened.
Like you said, Yoshi was a terrible jumper. He couldn't jump out of his shield, but this one player obviously found his groove with it and made Yoshi go up the rank.
Exactly. I think that's like a huge thing. I'm trying to think of like other examples of that, but
I really liked how you decided to choose your character, and I think that'd be a good way to recommend anyone who they're going to invest time into is play a bunch, figure out which of the bunch that you enjoy are high enough on the list, and then invest your time in there.
Yeah, I
know
people.
Actually, maybe even on that note, let's do a little test here, because I don't know anything about the tier list.
All right.
So what I'll do is I'll give you a couple of the characters that I play.
All right, and I tell you who's
and
the
you can
best.
tell me who's the best. So
Right.
I like
I
playing
like this.
regular Samus,
Yep.
Zero Suit Samus,
All right.
Link,
Uh-huh.
Lucina, and there was one more on my list and I can't think of them right now. Oh, and Kirby.
Zero Suit Samus, best one.
Zero Suit Samus because of the agility and the mobility.
Yep.
Okay.
And I could get into a big discussion of why Zero Suit's the best,
I-
but I'll spare
I-
the details.
Okay, so Zero Suit, who would be my next one below that?
Hang on. So you had
Samus, Link,
and Kirby,
Kirby,
And Lucina.
and
and
Lucina.
Lucina. Lucina's really good. Again, you can also now play Marth because they're the same character, just a little different. A lot of people say Link's not good, but I think Link's really good.
I like Link.
Uh,
I love you when I play casual and stuff, like with friends and stuff. A lot of my friends forget that Link has that extra side smash attack because he does his first
Oh, yeah,
swing,
the
and they
first
forget
swing.
about it. But then I come up with the second one. So
That's the real noob trap of Smash.
Yeah. So okay, I'm just curious as to see because
just
that
call all your friends noobs.
yeah. No, I just like that idea that, like you said, like that's probably the best way if you're looking to get into
Yeah, that's smart.
competitive Smash. Play a bunch of characters, find like your top 5, and then from there maybe feel who you play better with. Feel free to break down and play and practice with that
Yeah.
certain character.
Is there an advantage to picking a mid-tier character and investing a ton of time into them? Because I'm assuming people aren't used to that matchup as much.
Oh yeah. Let me throw back to FanCon 2016. I'm sure the people from the Smash people watching this know exactly what I'm going to say. So at that time, I used to play Cloud.
I remember that even.
Yeah. But back then, I'm trying to remember exactly. So like FanCon, I went into Winterside Grand Finals because my Cloud was doing really well at that time. But then in Grand Finals, Matthew Kipling decided to play Ganondorf against me because he's a very low tier character. But I had no idea how to fight him, so I actually lost that set against him in Grands because I had no idea how to fight Ganondorf because he was so low, so nobody played him. And for a while, he would like whenever he was losing, he would just pick Ganondorf against me because I had no idea how to play against Ganondorf.
So how do you prep for a big tournament when you've got such a huge roster? Because you can't be familiar with everyone.
You're right. So what a lot of big tournaments do is that they release the pools a day early, so you'll know who's in your specified group of like
Right.
20-ish people, so you can prepare for those characters specifically.
Does it actually give you the character they're picking, or just the
No.
human player, and you
Just
just
the
kind
player,
of have to do your research?
and then you do your
find out
research
which
on the
release?
player.
Okay.
I've never stalked many more people in my life than doing this.
I was gonna say that is really weird because like I've gone to like card tournaments and stuff. They don't do anything like that. Like it's
No,
just
they
like
release-
the day of. Okay, you're playing this guy. Who's this guy? Oh, it says here he's the rank 32 in all the world.
Is
Oh,
that
great.
really common then to get your pools a day in advance, or is it
It's
more
pretty
common
common.
to just show up and go
For
with
bigger
the
events,
info?
you'll usually get your pools in advance, but you'll get who's in your pool, not who you're playing against.
Right. So he
So-
researched 20 people, even though you're playing 3 or 4 of them, kind of thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I played like 6 in my pool, or I guess 5. Yeah, 5 people in my pool, and you know, there's 20 people on this list. So
And that's where the Facebook stalking comes in handy, where you just
Well, yeah, you
search
know-
their name and then, hey, they got a Smash video of them playing. Okay, he's obviously playing a lot of Ganondorf.
go to like there's like a huge video database for all the Smash videos. So just search up their tag. You're like, all right, I know this guy now. Like
That's some pretty hardcore like cramming the night before.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm just like, all right, because you know, at this point I've played the game so long, I'm like, all right, he plays this character. I have a general idea of how to play against that character.
So I
Be
don't have
prepared
to
for that.
don't have to put much time into learning that one.
Well, eventually, like you know, you get a good idea of how to fight every character, if not like super into it, but you get like the basic gist of how to work against it. So you just like, all right, so this guy's from here. He plays this character, and he's pretty good. All right, ready for that one. So in my winners bracket,
Just
round
more
2,
more about being mentally prepared for the match than actually like sitting there for a couple hours. Like I don't know how to play against this guy as well. So I'm
Well,
gonna...
I mean, that's actually a good point for when you were saying earlier about like playing a lower tier character and not having like the knowledge of how to fight it. So like a lot of people, if they're fighting like a mid tier, they usually find like their friend or somebody at the bigger event that plays that mid tier, so they can like figure that out.
right.
But against a lot of like top tier characters, like Diddy Kong's a good example for when I was at Genesis. Matthew Kipling plays a lot of Diddy Kong, so I've already got a lot of Diddy Kong practice. And again, I was playing up against Legit, who's a Diddy Kong player. He's number 2 in Northern California. Almost beat him, but I had a lot of that practice, right?
Just didn't get that Lilat stage. Dang.
I mean, I did get Lilat, but I lost that.
Ah,
I didn't lose because of the tilt, though. I lost fair and square.
I'm sorry,
go ahead.
I didn't want to break your thought, but I guess I just did.
Go
I
ahead,
was gonna
it's fine.
ask
Confidence
kind of a getting towards kind of final questions here. I was gonna ask you about
no,
controllers.
these topics we haven't even
I know,
touched yet.
I know that's what we got.
I've got all day.
Well, we don't got all day. Though,
All right.
so,
I got it.
But I wanted to ask you about controllers because we actually had a podcast a little while ago where we were talking about the best controller ever. And I know obviously with Smash Brothers,
Yeah.
a lot of professional players obviously have their own GameCube controllers and stuff.
Controllers are a big deal right now.
And controllers are a big deal,
Such
especially
a weird situation there. Yeah.
especially right now because like a lot of like the original GameCube controllers you can't get anymore. Like they're selling on eBay for quite a bit of money.
Yep.
And there's third-party ones that come out, but they just don't feel right. I'm just wanted to get your opinion on the controller situation as to
The new re-released ones aren't quite the same as the original GameCube
Yeah,
ones.
a lot of people, they still use, like, the re-release ones are good, though. Like, there might not be as well as, like, the first run of the GameCube controllers, but the ones they re-released with Smash, a lot of people use them. They're still alright.
Does anybody use Wavebirds, or are those just not viable?
No.
I'm
People
assuming
use
there's some
it for-
sort of like lag or something,
Yeah,
or
there's
even
just
the
input
radio
delay.
frequency that if you happen to be sitting there and someone in the crowd goes, "I'm going to switch mine to the same frequency," and
Wavebirds, I don't think I've ever seen anyone use one in tournament. Except for the first Game Quest tournament, there was a lot of Wavebirds.
I like Wavebirds. Yeah, not
I-
particularly for Smash, but they're a great controller.
But to get back on the topic of controllers, it's a pretty big deal right now because like there's a big issue of like new like box style controllers like arcade sticks,
yeah, the Smash Box, right?
Smash
Isn't that a big
boxes, Smash Stick, all these companies trying to make their own stick, but tournament organizers, sorry, are like kind of sitting in this gray area of like, do we allow these because they kind of provide some benefits to compared to GameCube controllers. And you know, some people they use like the Wii U Pro controller too, and those are good because they have the extra shoulder button. And a lot of people are using that as a reason to like legalize sticks and boxes like that, because you know if you have the extra button there, why not have something else extra on the stick? And a couple people even use the Wii Remote Nunchuck with some weird control setup that I could not tell you.
did you see any players use just the Wiimote
Nope.
by itself? Okay,
That's the worst option out of any.
I would no. I could say if someone won with that, I'd be quite impressed.
I'd rather use a Wavebird. You just lose so much with a Wii Remote sideways that it's not worth it. But yeah, there's like a lot of people. Most people use GameCube controllers, obviously, but some people they do use like different options. Like Melee player Hacks, he developed his own box style controller, like a stick, but with digital button presses rather than like an actual like joystick.
Mm-hmm.
And he has been working for a couple years now on that because his wrists are so like torn and burnt out from like he can't use them in the way you could like with a regular GameCube controller.
He's in the
So he
hospital
has
every
to-
other week with carpal tunnel syndrome.
Exactly. So like he has to like develop his own controller to like actually play the game he loves, and I think that's a great project. Though he's been getting a lot of criticism for how good it is compared to a GameCube
That's
controller.
such a funny thing to criticize.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
like,
too
You can
good,
prove
it's too
something,
good.
Yeah, that sucks.
You'd think, but a lot of people are very like purists when it comes to that because they're like, all right, GameCube controller, vanilla Melee. And there's a whole other discussion about like hacks and like hacks as in like hacking the game, not the player.
What about like controller mods? Isn't that pretty common? People just replace parts in their controller
Yeah,
over time?
that's also like part of like an the same kind of like box issue. People like notch their controllers to like get specific angles to do some advanced techniques. People have like controller mods, which it's like there's a big controller mod called an Arduino that was circulating around like late last year, but people have mainly decided not to allow those at tournaments because again, really good and
Actually,
puts you at
on
an
that note, I was actually
advantage.
going to ask you how do most tournaments that you've been to address controllers in terms of like how do they know if a controller's been modded or if it is?
Great question.
Do they inspect things prior?
Great question. So here we use this in PG. We use a mod called the Universal Controller Fix, or UCF for short, and I'll be calling it from now on, because Universal Controller Fix too long.
Mouthful.
Not to be confused with the UFC.
Yeah. So UCF is really good because it makes all controllers function exactly the same. Because a lot of controllers, GameCube controllers specifically, are not manufactured exactly the same way. Some controllers have specific advantages over others, whereas others may shine in other categories of like advanced techniques. But the UCF makes it that all controllers will function the same and perform the techniques the exact same as any other controller, which I know that a lot of Melee players in town really love it and think that it's like the best thing to happen to the game in years. And I'd say that I'd agree because a lot of people are not searching for controllers anymore. They just stick this mod on their memory card, plug it in, every controller works just
Okay.
fine.
I was going to ask if this was a physical box or it's obviously
Yeah,
it's a
it's on-
software mod.
Yeah.
Now lately, though, like video games are going in that esports direction, and just maybe just because the word sports in there, that seems a lot different than another sport. Like you wouldn't make every player on the field wear the same kind of shoes, or have the same kind of protective equipment. Like you'd let them pick their own and even modify them in some cases.
Yeah, I think that's where just like character choice and stylistic play takes that, because
well, like you can still have two soccer players wearing different equipment that have the same kind of skills.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't really understand the controller side when you think of it like a sport. You'd think the player can use whatever controller they want, even if they've got something vastly different, like a fight stick versus a controller.
Just actually thinking back to our Power Up event when we had I think it was Street Fighter and stuff, that where we had players playing with.
And then you have some players, like they've got mods so they can have a keyboard. Like, playing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah,
they had
we
one,
had,
we
like,
had,
a
they had the one guy with
keyboard
keyboard
had a guy with
playing
a
on a
stick,
guy on a
with
stick,
me with a
or
pad.
even a guy playing with a 360 controller
That was me.
on a on a PlayStation system.
that was me.
Yeah. So why are you in fan of this universal situation for Smash, but other games you seem to be a little more loose on?
Well, like I don't really, like I'm very pro like controller choice. That's weird to say, but like I like play with what you want.
Hashtag pro-choice. For
Pro choice.
Pro
Like,
controller choice.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I'm very like I just like play with what you want. The reason why we use Universal Controller Fix at our events is because while some controllers may be good at some things and some may be bad at some things, the perfect controller is so rare that people will have to spend thousands upon thousands of dollars to actually like find a really good one.
I remember reading an article on one of the pro players doing that, like
Yep.
just spending ridiculous amounts to find that
one
yeah.
good controller. But and who knows how long that controller will last. So
Yeah.
like a couple months. and it's gone.
$2,000
On the note of the best controller ever, is there a mod out there that lets us use a SNES controller playing any
Not a-
Smash Brothers?
Not a software mod. You're gonna have to find something physical for that.
We'll
but-
have to track that down. We'll have to see if the perfect controller can be played on Smash Brothers.
Yeah, but so like basically UCF makes it that you don't have to spend those thousands of dollars, and makes a lot of like the good inputs a bit more lenient that you want. I'm sure lenient isn't really the best word I'm looking for here, but I'll use it now. So instead of having to spend thousands of dollars, you can pick up basically any GameCube controller that's not totally destroyed, and you'd be on the same level.
With controllers becoming a harder commodity to find, do you think that's too big of a hindrance to new players that want to come in to keep that community growing forever? Like, is there going to be a point we hit where it's too big of an investment to play Smash? At some point.
Melee's might actually run into this issue pretty soon because, like you said, there's a finite number of GameCube controllers in the world.
Well,
So-
even if we get a new Smash Brothers for the Switch and they put in the GameCube adapter, like you're saying, like we're eventually going to run out of controllers.
You can already use the GameCube adapter on the Switch, like
you
for
do an
any other
update,
game.
yeah.
I know, but I'm saying though, like
Like-
we're saying, like because of
That's a new wave of controllers disappearing from the market if Smash comes out on the Switch
Yeah.
again.
Like definitely true. Like like I said, especially Melee because you can only use the GameCube controller.
So do you
Nothing
think
else.
that one is just eventually going to have to allow whatever is in just to keep the game going?
Maybe, and I feel like the new box style controllers are a good step towards that, towards keeping the game from being too expensive to get into. Because CRTs, you find them out in like the dump.
Those are going to be obsolete at some point too.
True, but I feel like even like GameQuest and a lot of venues, they just keep a certain amount.
They do, but there is no one in the world manufacturing replacement parts now. And
That's true.
because they're eventually you're going to have tubes dying, you're going to have capacitors blowing, you're not going to be able to replace them at some point.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking, looking back to, I think it was when we were setting up for FanCon last year, we had one TV where the audio wasn't working, period. Like, we wanted audio out and it just wasn't. We had to switch out in a completely large TV out just because of one audio issue. It wasn't even a video issue yet.
That's true. But a lot of like emulations becoming huge in Melee. Like you can play NetPlay now with other people online. So there's like a ranked ladder for Melee.
That's cool.
And that's pretty cool. And emulation and stuff like that might actually be the future if CRTs start dying faster than we can use them.
Sure. So you've been to both big international events and like small local events many times.
Yep.
What makes a good casual event and what makes a good international, like huge kind of competitive event?
So I feel like just a big thing for small events. I'll start there. Small events, having that great sense of like welcoming community is great. I'm sure here is very good with that.
I've got to say it is. We've had tons of different events over the years and hosted different games and stuff, and some communities like just come in toxic right off the bat. I've never felt that from the Smash guys. They've always been super inviting, and when new players come in, people are like offering to give them rides to events and,
Yeah.
and come over to my place on the weekend. We'll practice.
Yeah, like here is especially great for that.
Yeah, people like I see constantly. It seems like at least once a month. Like I'm coming in from out of town. I need somewhere to stay, and like 3 people are like, "Come sleep on my couch."
Yeah,
Yeah.
like PG is great for that. A lot of the community sticks together really well, and they're very like a very tightly knit community, and I think that's like really amazing. One of the great parts of our scene, and I know like even other regions, like other sub-regions of BC, like mainland, like Vancouver, has really like noted that too. Like PG just sticks together really well. But in terms of like international events, I feel like a lot of people really just want to like play. So even if they get out of bracket, a lot of international events and like big Smash events are running amateur brackets now, or like brackets where if you get eliminated in this part of stage, you can play more for like a side bracket. So at Genesis, Red Bull was sponsoring the event. So if you got out in round 1 pools, which I didn't, then you could go to their amateur brackets, which is just like a 16-man bracket, and the winner gets some like Red Bull swag or whatever. And like if you got out in a certain part of round 1 pools, like really early on, you can play in these other amateur brackets. And like basically, if you a lot of tournaments are playing or making you play, even or not making you play, letting you play. You're forced to
10 games.
play some more games.
Play the games. Play the game. Oh.
Yeah, exactly. But people are like letting you play more even after you're eliminated, so it kind of encourages that kind of healthy community of like people playing.
That makes perfect sense, because especially like you said, like the big competitions, like there's people traveling all over just to
Yeah.
come to this place to play the game.
And-
give them the time to play the game, not just be like, I can recall when I used to do judo back in high school and stuff, like we traveled around all BC to go to a judo tournament and stuff. But for me, like I had to sit there almost the entire day just to wait for my bracket to start.
Yeah.
And you'd fight for maybe a total of, if you were lucky, 6 minutes worth of fighting, and that was your entire weekend. Gone.
And like half the people at these tournaments go 0-2. Like they don't win a single set, and then that's it. Then they can't play anymore.
I think that's smart for 2 reasons. Is one, like you get your money's worth.
Yeah, exactly.
You can play as much or as little as you want. And secondly, that's typically going to be your best opportunity to
Improve.
play these players that are just have unreal skills. And so to be able to take advantage of that opportunity while it's in such a short window is smart.
And maybe that's also a nice way to like especially with like the big tournaments and stuff where you meet new people. Like, you know, I
Oh,
recall
of
when I
course.
went to the TCG tournament for Pokemon, I ran into a guy who came all the way from Atlanta. And when I was playing against him, I was playing with my Marshadow deck for the Pokemon people who understand. It was a deck where I was probably the only person in that entire 300 group of people who's playing this type of deck, and I managed to do pretty well with it. And the guy saw it, he's like, "Oh, dude, I hope you make it to the, you can make it to the top 32 or whatever, because I really love to see your deck and stuff." And I was like, "Oh, that's cool, man." And we got along really well, even though we were in the middle of a match.
Yeah.
So like, it's nice that it'd be good to have those side events where, like you said, like if I get knocked out immediately, another guy knocks out immediately, he's like, "Oh, where you from?" "Oh, I'm from Argentina or something." And then you start
Yeah,
becoming
that's great.
friends and stuff.
I've met a lot of great people at events like that.
Yeah, he was showing me photos beforehand, and it's really cool because they're not like photos of like games and venues and stuff. It's like, look at all these awesome people I know here. He's like taking
Yeah.
pictures of his friends.
Like I know people
yeah.
from like I've met people from like Ontario, met people from like the States, even met people from like Mexico down there, and it's pretty great.
Yeah.
And I feel like what else? So there's also like a lot of tournaments are trying to make it kind of like a convention too. Like there's a big arcade where I was at in Oakland. There's like an artist alley, and a lot of tournaments do that. Also trying to just get your money's worth. Some even have like panels from like notable community members too, which is cool.
I like that a lot.
But that's
Were
not
there
really
any like
my
artist vendors like selling like Smash Brothers
Yeah, exactly.
swag and
I
stuff?
bought a lot of like Smash related posters at these events.
One thing I wanted to ask you, because we're probably going to start running out of time here. One of my last questions I wanted to ask you was, because they're not when Smash Brothers comes out
Yeah.
on the Switch eventually, if it is a new game, what new characters would you like to see come in? Like, what would be your top three
I think
picks?
even if they redo Smash 4, they're just gonna add new characters to it.
No,
too.
but I mean, like, if like I'm not talking bringing back a veteran character. I mean, like, new
No,
characters.
I
Who
mean,
would-
like, you got Smash 4's roster, maybe plus or minus a Cloud or something if they lose licensing.
Yeah.
But they'll still add new characters to that have never
that's what I
been in
mean.
it
But I mean,
before.
for Jordan's wish list, who would you like to see as your 3 new characters come in?
Jeez. So like I have like a lot of like more reasonable requests. Like I'd like to see like
Let's hear the one like.
so I'd
crazy
like to
one.
see like not too. This one isn't too crazy, but I'd like to see Rodon from Bayonetta. Because
Sure.
like if they added Bayonetta, I feel like Rodon's perfect.
And with 3 coming out, I think
Yeah.
that's a very real possibility.
That's like the realistic one. I know like this was in PlayStation All Stars, but I really wanted Raiden for Smash 4. I knew he wasn't coming, but I was like, man, I really want him. Also, another reasonable one is Zero.
Zero from
Mega
Man?
Man X.
Yes, I would love to see Zero.
Yeah.
Which Zero though? Zero from the X series or Zero from the Game Boy Advance series?
I feel like when I thought about it, because I was really thinking, because I remember we had this discussion with the Smash people. Zero from the Mega Man X series would just be a worse Cloud. Like all of his moves would just look like
A
Cloud.
worse Cloud?
Yeah, because you take the moves because Smash is really good at taking moves from their source material, and you'd think like a lot of the moves that like Zero has in the X series are exactly like what Cloud has in Smash, but worse.
I would have to argue against that because within the X series, like, because I used to play a lot of, it's not one of Kelsey's favorites, but my friend of mine and I played X6 all the time, and Zero
Well, I
has
haven't played X6. So
X6 Zero has a lot of different moves that I didn't see in previous games, so they would have a lot of different moves that they
Yeah,
could go
they
through.
do have a lot of source material to draw from for X.
True. Even then, if you had good ideas for like X style Zero, I'd really like to see Mega Man Zero, like the Game Boy Advance ones, because I think he's cool.
Or even if
So weird to me
even if they brought in the X version of Zero, at least give him a Mega Man Zero costume.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
So at least he looks like
Yeah,
the one from the
exactly.
Game Boy Advance.
That's what they did in Marvel vs. Capcom.
So weird that the Game Boy Advance is even a topic in this. Like, to me, like, that series is all about the Super Nintendo and kind of about the PlayStation. Like,
Well, how much did you play of Mega Man Zero? Have you ever touched it?
yeah, I've finished it. I've even played the DS ones. I've finished all those ones.
Okay.
I'm
Zero
played
is,
ZX.
is very low on my Mega
Because
Man
for me,
list.
Mega Man Zero was like that series was like the game that I played when I went on judo road trips.
Yep.
So when I was sitting in
That
the
was
car,
my road trip game too.
Yeah, I was sitting there just playing Zero,
Playing
like
Mega Man Zero.
just going through, and then you die. You go, you son of a bitch, go at it again. You just keep going. You're like, this stage is killing me, but I can't stop playing it.
Yeah, that was
So-
me when I was a kid. On road trips, Mega Man Zero time.
Okay, so your top 3 would be Rodan from Bayonetta, Zero, and who was your other one?
I was gonna say Raiden, but that's kind of like an out there pick.
Okay.
If I wanted to actually pick something that's like also an out there pick, but something I really wanted, I want the kid from Bastion.
The kid from Bastion.
He's got a cool art style.
Okay.
Yeah, like just his name is the kid, and he's from the game Bastion.
What about you, Kelsey? What would be your
Oh, mine?
a character you'd like to see come in?
They've hit most of the ones that I would hit. Like, I don't know if I could even come up with 3. I'd love for them to do Mike from Star Tropics. Just because he's got, like, I guess he might be too similar to, like, a Ness Lucas character, though, without the
Yeah.
psychic powers. He'd have, like, yo-yos and baseball bats and basketballs and stuff. But he could be pretty interesting with just an arsenal of stuff you'd find around your house. I don't know. I'd love to see more villains, I guess. They're just too many heroes. Let's get
so-
Sigma
yeah, true.
instead of Zero in there.
Sigma's
like,
cool. That'd be a
yeah.
cool pick too. I'd like Sigma.
Even like because they did classic Mega Man. If they just did like Dr. Wily, he could have just an endless range of
He
robots.
just
and
constantly
stuff.
summons Robot Masters.
Yeah.
He's like
not even
he's
that,
like the
like
Pokemon trainer all over again.
Like
Yeah.
He uses Robot Masters
like
instead.
the final stage Wily, like he's always got little UFO type ships with cool stuff in them. Like if you just make him like a totally flying character, I don't know if that would wreck the
Yeah.
balance of the game, but
Maybe.
it could be interesting.
I know. For me, I would love to see Shantae come in because she would be a great character. Because considering she's been on a lot of like pure Nintendo console only stuff.
Yeah.
Like just recently, she got more like PlayStation stuff.
Mhm.
But I also felt like need to be some more Metroid characters. Like I would love
Yeah, true.
not Ridley, but Grandea from Metroid Prime 3 because she's actually a character who actually can like mimic other characters. So I'd love to have a character kind of like
Yeah.
Kirby where like she can duplicate another character who's like on stage and use their abilities against
Do you
them.
think they're at a point with like mining their big series where they're gonna start going with more like B-list characters. Like maybe you're more likely to get like a Chozo or a Space
I think
Pirate.
we saw
or
that a
something.
lot in Smash 4. Like we saw a lot of like Little Mac, Duck Hunt.
But they were the
But-
stars of their game. They weren't like
Yeah,
a-
okay,
a
yeah, I see what you
secondary
get me now.
character in
Yeah,
the
yeah, I
game.
thought you meant like B-list games, not B-list characters.
No. Duck Hunt's a B-list game. Punch Out's a B-list game. Oh.
Well, I mean,
Get
like,
out.
they're not. I mean, I love Punch Out to death, right? I'm glad Little Mac made it in, but he's definitely not the most popular
Yeah,
game.
and he hasn't been very relevant since like I
Right.
think his first game was extremely relevant. Everything past he's been like a
Until he got like
tier.
the Wii release.
No, even then, like that game didn't strike up the sales charts. Like people weren't talking about it after 2 months. Like,
Okay.
but the
That game
original
is
Punch Out,
fantastic,
like
though.
people loved that up until like the early to mid '90s. It had a good run where it was super important.
The Wii Punch Out was really good though.
It was fantastic. I don't see how they can top that if they try to do another one. Like
I
it
want
was
to see
really
them
good.
try, but
I'd love to see them try. Did you ever try the weird mode with the balance board? And
no, I didn't try the balance board mode.
It's really bad.
Balance
It's-
board mode.
It's fun for one like attempt.
Yeah.
I guess let's final question then.
All right.
For advice to give somebody who wants, because we already touched on it a little bit, advice for somebody who wants to get into Smash Brothers, like maybe what they should do, what they should look into. Because you already touched on it a little bit, where like obviously play the characters you like, and maybe from there look at.
Is it
Tier
easier to
sets.
get into Smash Melee or Smash 4 as well?
I mean, they're both pretty easy to get into. I'd say the easiest way to just get into it is to find your local scene, like find like whatever you guys use, like Facebook in our case. I know some communities use Discord, but all the information is like very readily available as to, like where your scene is or how close you are to like.
What
a
if
group of
there's no
locals.
scene? Like you were here in a point where there wasn't one. How do you kind of ignite that?
How do you like? Oh, hang on. So are you asking like, if you have no scene, how do you play, or how do you like make a scene?
How do you start creating a scene? Yeah, how do you gather people together and get it going?
I think it's a great thing to like have something like a game quest around. So like you have a great place to have events being held. I know it's just turning into a game quest plug, but yeah.
Well, it's the channel's
it's
not
like-
called Game Quest TV for a reason.
Yeah. Game Quest is amazing,
Wait,
guys.
what if you're in like a smaller place like a Vanderhoof Mackenzie? Like
So like I know a lot of like even Quesnel people come out to PG for our weeklies.
they're starting their own scene up too.
Yeah, they are.
KMAX is an awesome place too. Like I've interacted with the owners several times. They're really good people.
So maybe what you're kind of touching on here is maybe like if they find like a community center or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Where they
You
can
wanna
try
have
to
some-
start hosting, like do like a host where it's like, hey, I have 3 GameCubes set up. Here's
Yeah.
an announcement. We're gonna play, and then whoever shows up, even if it's 4 people, you guys just sit there
It's
and play.
basically just like Quesnel because they have like what 4 to 6 people in their events, but they're growing.
I like that idea too of maybe if you're trying to start a scene is to do that little investment, get a few systems, a few copies, a few TVs, like
Yeah,
so you can
nothing comes
offer
easy.
then people that haven't
Mhm.
got that at home can
'Cause-
still come and play.
Because sometimes your initial investment maybe it might not start everything. Because like I even know like we've tried doing Pokemon VGC competitions here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's kind of fizzled out. We do have a couple people who are asking to redo it again, so it might start back up here again. But it's always something to
The slow burn at first.
there might be a slow burn at first. But I like your idea. Like start small community. Do announcements. Try to gather people, and whoever shows up, just start being good buds with them.
I think we had it really good here, especially like with the starting tournaments that like Kelsey ran, because like I'm not sure if there would have been much of a scene if Kelsey didn't stick with it and started going to like those first like half a dozen or so tournaments before we started having our own weeklies and tournaments and stuff at the university.
Yeah, you guys just took it and ran with it, which was so awesome to see.
Yeah, I'm glad I could be like so involved in it too, because like I'm normally the guy that like records all the videos, puts them up on YouTube. And I was kind of like accepted with open arms, probably because I could just do that and nobody else could. But
Yeah, it was like the first time I saw you haul your PC down to the store,
Yeah.
like that showed so much dedication to it.
Well, even when we had the FanCon last year, that you
Yeah.
had brought
Yeah.
in your
It was a big
TV
part of
and
that.
stuff, like the entire time while I was sitting there just doing regular tournament stuff, announcing, who's fighting who and stuff, you were sitting there recording and talking the entire time. Like, I'm pretty sure your voice is probably as torn as mine was
Oh.
towards the end of the day.
I could barely talk to Kelsey afterwards.
I know that day I was sitting there when I was doing this stuff, Kelsey came and was like, hey, Dustin, you need anything? I'm like, I need some halls. Get me some halls.
Oh, definitely. By grand finals, I was like, my throat was drier than a desert. Yeah, I feel like while you can't start your own community, I feel like Quenelle is a very like grassroots attempt at it. We had a lot of help with GameQuest, like supporting us and like giving us events and venues for the longest time before we started getting like university rooms. Now we have like our own spaces,
Yeah.
which is pretty cool. But even if you have like no community around you, you can still play online just as fine. And like Smash Ladder is bigger than ever now, so even if you have no community, you can still be a really good player. Like there are people who have come from out of like nowhere. Like Ray is a good example. He comes from Williams Lake, and like no one plays there, but he comes to PG, and now he's really good. So again, even if you have nothing there, you can still play and still just enjoy the competitive scene just as much as people like me.
Okay.
Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, so just to summarize that then, so as a person wanting to get into competitive play, pick like your top 5 characters, maybe look at some tier lists, but then decide who's your
Yeah.
best fit for you. Practice with them. Don't feel
Enjoyment's
scared
big
to,
too. Yeah,
Don't be afraid to experiment with other characters you're maybe not 100% with.
yeah. Like
And then from there, when you build your community, start off small and just see how it builds.
I know a lot of you guys put in an insane amount of time into practicing too. Like, do you find players often getting burnt out and like saying like I'm taking 2 weeks to a month off and then I'm gonna come play again? Or
That's
is-
me.
Yeah.
That's me. Like, all right, guys, I've had a good few weeks. I'm out, and then I come back a few months later. But a lot of people just stick around. Like, even if they're feeling burnt out, they'll still show up just to have that sense of community. And like,
Right.
it's basically just like a whole big group of friends going out, having a good Monday. And afterwards we always go out for wings. That's always fun.
Nice.
But as you were saying about characters, enjoyment's a huge thing too. I didn't really touch on that, but like, if you only enjoy Palutena, don't feel scared to just only play Palutena, because even though she's not the best character, if you enjoy her, go ahead. And the only way like that'll ever like affect you is if you're trying to be like the best in the world, because there's really good Palutena players out there.
Like at a local level too, is like, can someone be a viable contender with a low tier character? Like they might not
Exactly, yeah,
win an
perfectly.
Evo, but they might win a weekly kind of thing.
Like I'll go back to Matthew Kipling. He used to win lots of weeklies with Rob, and Rob's
I
not
remember
good.
that. His Rob was a real pain in the ass to play against.
Well, yeah, you're not the only one that thinks that. Myself too.
Yeah.
But even though like a lot of people from town can now beat his Rob, and like we've kind of grown past that kind of like threshold where Rob can actually stand on his own.
Right.
That was the other character I couldn't remember. It was Rob.
All right, well,
So that's okay.
don't tell Matthew Kipling that you played Rob. He'll yell at you.
that I played Rob.
Well, yeah, he's just like he's like on the Rob hate train now that he's ditched the character.
I love Rob.
He's a good one.
I love robots. They're cute.
Rob's good. Not really. But but he's a
Alrighty.
cool character.
Well, I think on behalf of Kelsey and myself, I think we appreciate you coming down
Yeah,
to
thank
be
you so
our
much.
second guest
Thank you.
on, and a
Oh.
nice little Smash Brothers.
Just quick thing. If you were watching, everyone's got to watch this. Splatoon 2 at Genesis, Game 4, Saffron Rice versus Set to Destroy. Best game ever.
Well,
Like,
shoot, us,
are you in it or?
No, I mean, I'm in it. My right hand's in it. But
shoot us a link. We can add it into the description.
sure. All right.
And then obviously maybe we should do a couple plugs. So we obviously have the Prince George Smash Brothers group.
See us on Prince George Smash on Facebook. We also have a group chat on Facebook if you guys are really interested in it. But yeah, the Facebook group is Prince George Smash. I don't think we have a custom URL yet, but we don't have enough members for a custom URL. So just look up Prince George Smash. There's a link on the GameQuest page too. Right?
What's the minimum number of members you need?
I think
for
it's
that?
250.
Oh, you're getting close then.
We're getting close. We can have /Prince George Smash all to ourselves pretty soon.
And
Nice.
then any streaming stuff, like do you have a Twitch channel and stuff?
For me personally, if you ever want to see our Smash events, I'll stream them sometimes if we have internet. My Twitch is /BirdWasTaken, all one word. Also follow my Twitter, same thing, @BirdWasTaken.
I love that Bird Was Taken. I love that.
I mean, it was taken. I can't
So,
take it.
we'll be sure to put some links in the description below.
Sweet. And I do have a YouTube channel for all my VODs, but you can find that on the Facebook group just as easily as finding the Facebook group itself, so I won't bother because it's not a URL, it's just a bunch of numbers and letters.
Alrighty. Well, again, on behalf of us, thank you for coming down and talking to us
Thank you
about
for
Smash
having me.
Brothers for
Thanks
stuff.
for being the superior Paul this week.
and maybe this will be an opportunity for our viewers to get good and get
Yeah,
ready to
get into
maybe
Smash.
fight against you on whatever the next upcoming major tournament is. I imagine we'll have something for FanCon this year.
Yeah, there's a huge one at the Treasure Cove before that, though.
Yeah, that's happening in 2 weeks, I think. Yeah, 2 weeks from now.
A
Right
lot of,
on.
what was it, $5,000 worth of prizes?
3,000.
3,000.
I mean, not a lot of people from out of town coming. You'd think there'd be like a huge interest in that because
Yeah, that's a decent prize pool.
anything over 1,000. A lot of people from like Vancouver, Victoria are all willing to go down, but not a lot of people this time.
Still a couple of weeks, there might be some stragglers showing up.
Yeah,
Just haven't
I mean
been
BC's
plans
known
yet.
for signing up last minute, but
Yeah.
nobody's
We-
actually shown interest in it.
We
which is
did a
kinda
Mario
weird.
Kart event once with another store, and we had 0 signups leading into it. Like I was there all set up like 20 minutes before it was supposed to start, thinking like, okay, this bomb, no one's coming, and then 25 people came in like 2 minutes before the event started. It was crazy.
Sounds
So
about right.
always schedule your time an hour before you start the event. We're starting at 3 o'clock. Okay, get everybody to show up at 2.
But thanks for having me. It was a great time.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure we can have you back at some point.
Sweet.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some multiplayer game discussions or some more Smash Brother stuff.
Splatoon discussion, that can
Oh
be interesting
yes,
too.
I'd love to talk about Splatoon all day.
All right. Well, thanks again, and don't forget to subscribe to GameQuest TV and to check out the guys on the Smash Brothers Facebook stuff.
Yeah. Smash Book, I like it.
Smash Book.
The Smash Book. This would be a thing.